The meeting is called to order. If we could please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular January meeting of the Community High School District 94 Board of Education. Mission statement, please.
Community High School strives to promote and provide growth experiences in learning, leadership, and living.
Thank you, Rich. Board agreements, please.
Right, speaking with one voice. No individual board member, other than the board president, per board policy, has the authority to act or speak on behalf of the board without the consent of the board. Board members have an obligation to express their opinions and respect others' opinions at the board table. Board members understand the importance of speaking with one clear voice to the superintendent. Board members have the right to disagree with the decision of the board, but they will support the board in its decision by abiding by the will of the majority.
Thank you, Lynn. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
Ms. Casey Mayer?
Here.
Ms. Doremus?
Present via phone due to health issues.
Ms. Munoz? Here. Mr. Nagel?
Present.
Mr. Sake?
Present.
And Suniga?
He said he will be a little bit late because of car issues because of the cold.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that brings us to Student of the Month.
West Chicago Community High School has selected Muaz Ali of West Chicago as Student of the Month for December 2023. He was selected by his teacher, who said Muaz was one of the most dedicated students that I had last year. He is passionate about his interests and really fights for others. He served as his party's leader in our government simulation and did an excellent job getting everyone together and making sure everyone had their voice heard. A trait that sets Muaz apart is that he is able to view issues from multiple perspectives. For a student his age, this is a very rare quality to possess. A senior, Muaz is on the honor roll and has earned a cumulative weighted grade point average of 4.762. He is a member of the National Honor Society, NHS, previously received the Wildcat Pride Award, and was selected as Student of the Month at the Technology Center of DuPage, TCD. Muaz participates in the math team, where he recently placed first in a local meet, earning a perfect score. He is also a member of Rock Climbing Club, a robotics driver, and serves as a student ambassador. In addition to volunteering for NHS, he helps with events for the Islamic Center of North America, as well as local food pantries. When asked about his favorite high school memory, Muaz recalls, "From the hundreds of high school memories I have, it's impossible to choose. But if I had to pick, it would probably be either receiving the Student of the Month award at TCD or picking up rock climbing as a hobby due to joining Rock Climbing Club. The award meant so much to me as I had been recognized for my efforts not only in the classroom, but the entire student body of those at TCD. Additionally, rock climbing has been the only hobby I've been able to consistently keep up with and enjoy while still keeping the other aspects of my life going on." Muaz has this advice for future Wildcats. Take advantage of the resources given to you, especially academic support and after-school tutoring. Don't think that it's embarrassing or that no one else needs help. Chances are there's going to be students who need help on the same or even more things than you. So ask for help when you need it. That's why teachers are here. After completing his undergraduate studies in college, Muaz hopes to attend a prestigious law school in order to become an attorney and possibly a judge. Congratulations, Muaz.
Congratulations and well done, Muaz. All right, good news of the district.
Okay. Illinois Student Assistance Commission congratulates 35 West Chicago Community High School students for their outstanding academic performance. West Chicago Community High School Principal, Dr. Dwyer, is pleased to announce that 35 students from West Chicago Community High School graduating class of 2024 have been designated as Illinois State Scholars. The Illinois Student Assistance Commission, ISAC, the state's college access and financial aid agency, presents this important recognition of academic achievement to exceptional high school students annually. This year, nearly 16,700 honorees join the other outstanding students who have been honored since the designation was first introduced in 1958. The following West Chicago Community High School students were named 2024-25 Illinois State Scholars: Christian Abadia, Clarissa Alvarez, Maria Baccaris, Sydney Benema, Madison Borman, Nathaniel Bowe, Fernanda Delgadia, James Dorr, Kevin Dorrell, Yulissa Duran, Matthew Eaton, Cora Garling, Danvere Gill, Gabriella Gloss, Christina Guo, Clara Hasselgren, Tyler Heimbecker, Elizabeth Haran, Angie Jacobo, Arlie Jacobo, Graham Johnson, Enia Cosme, Kalinia Kuhn, Mackenzie Leschewitz, Leah Moffitt, Jorge Munoz, Neela Myers, Charles Peachman, Rory Rudon, Riley Salazar, Lauren Schema, Owen Thompson, Ethan Villano, Jonathan Walsh, and Margaret White. On behalf of ISAC, congratulations to all our Illinois State Scholars for their extraordinary academic achievements, said ISAC Executive Director Eric Zarnikow. These high school seniors managed through the personal and learning challenges of the pandemic for several years of high school, and their accomplishments reflect their passion and dedication to academic pursuits. We also want to acknowledge and thank families, counselors, educators, mentors, and communities for their encouragement and often invaluable support in helping students along each step of their educational path. The Illinois State Scholar designation is a non-monetary award. Each state scholar will receive a congratulatory letter and a certificate of achievement from ISAC.
All right, how about a round of applause for those scholars?
And we plan to present a photo of all the scholars tonight, but the weather has not cooperated the last few days. So we'll get that to you the next meeting.
Okay.
That sounds good. All right, that brings us to public participation. This is the portion of our meeting where any member of the public may address the Board of Education on any topic. We welcome your comments and will carefully listen to your concerns. We will not be able to engage in a dialogue during public participation, but when appropriate, we will direct the administration to follow up. Presentations are limited to no more than 5 minutes per person, with a total time limit of 30 minutes for public participation. If you wish to make personal charges or complaints against individual employees, volunteers, or students of the district, we request that you send the board your concerns in writing rather than stating those concerns during public comment. If anyone currently present wishes to make public comment and hasn't already done so, please fill out one of the comment forms in the back of the room and hand it to someone else seated at the table. At this point, we received no comment cards and no electronic comment, so we will move on. That brings us to reports and information. Director of Business Services report.
Thank you. Just a few items to update the board on. Last week, we released an RFP for regular and special ed transportation services. We had a mandatory meeting with potential providers this morning. We had 10 contractors attend the meeting and a lot of questions. We're hopeful that there will be continued interest when proposals are submitted on January 30th. I plan to bring the results to the February COW meeting for discussion. And then I've been in contact with Michael Gutman from the city of West Chicago with regards to the student parking lot IGA. The city would like to incorporate into the IGA a shared use addendum for when the new park is completed. Additionally, they would like us to also remove any mention of Kerr McGee on the signs around the parking lot. The district's only request is that there is an extension to the current IGA. He noted that he thought that the city would be open to that extension, and I noted that I thought this board would be open to their two requests as well. When an amendment is available, I'll bring it to the board's attention. An update on our Skyward Q transition migration. So as we mentioned, our business and human resources offices are currently migrating our current financial software platform, Skyward SMS, to the new Skyward Cumulative platform. On February 5th, 2024, we'll go live with that new platform. Certain board reports will look different after we go live, but we'll provide the same information as always. We have already started to communicate with staff regarding the upcoming change and how it will affect payroll, punching in and out for employees, purchasing, and W-2s, just to name a few things. Needless to say, this is a huge process and change for our business office and HR staff. They've already put in a lot of extra hours to get ready for this change, and as always, they continue to go above and beyond. We expect everything to go smoothly in the next couple of weeks. And then lastly, as you might have seen on the personnel report at the December board meeting, there were a couple of retirements noted that affected our business office. Chris Olson and Brenda Freckman both have put in their retirement letters. Chris will retire as of June 30th, and Brenda will retire as of July 31st. Combined, they'll be leaving with 61 years of experience in service to the District 94. Chris with 35 years and Brenda with 26. Both individuals are integral parts of our business office, and more importantly, they are go-to people for many people in the building when it comes to ordering, insurance, grants, just to name a few things. Even more important is that they're both great people, and their smiling faces and positive attitudes will be dearly missed in our office. We wish them the best of luck in their upcoming retirements. We also intend to post both those positions to ensure pretty soon. We intend to post those positions soon to ensure we find quality candidates and also provide a substantial training period for both those new hires. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dan. Director of Human Services report.
Great. Good evening, everyone. This is the time of year when we start to prepare for hiring season, so I want to take the opportunity tonight to update the board on both the timeline and some of the critical steps in that process. Major focus this year is our employer branding and our online presence. I've been working closely with Brittany Walker, our coordinator of communications and community relations, to think through how potential applicants interact with our district online and ensure that they get a clear and a moving message about who we are as a school and as a workplace. We are working to revamp the HR website, incorporate quality content, like the videos that you've seen, that Wildcat and We Love WeGo, and increase our employer presence with items such as employee testimonials and district statistics that illustrate what makes WeGo such a special community. In addition, we are expanding our outreach this spring with 6 job fairs already on the calendar, both in person and virtual. Although the market is becoming more challenging, we are prepared to find the highest quality candidates to become our next staff members and leaders here in West Chicago. In terms of the hiring timeline, the month of January will be spent preparing for known job postings and training administrators and best practices in hiring. Come February, we will start posting positions and actively recruiting. And at the end of February is the sectioning meeting, out of which we will identify staffing needs department by department for the 24-25 school year. I will plan to bring a licensed and support staff hiring request to the board in March, along with the annual historical staffing update. And this concludes my report.
Thank you, Julie. Principal's report.
Good evening. I'd like to start by thanking the staff and student body for a great start to the second semester of school. Despite the challenges the weather has presented, the school is up and running smoothly, and we are looking forward to seeing all students tomorrow morning. There is school. See you at 7:55. For the second year in a row, we kicked off the second semester with a spirit assembly during den time on the first Tuesday back to school. The junior and senior classes participated in various competitions, all to the background music of the wonderful band. I really want to thank the PEP Club sponsors, Ms. Mastrioni, Mr. Jennings, and Mr. McKenna for organizing and conducting such a great event. And obviously the members of our PEP Club who have done a wonderful job this year creating great school spirit the entire year. I also want to thank the entire administrative team who have been working very hard since the beginning of October to put together last week's 8th grade open house. This annual event is a critical milestone for all of our future Wildcats, and it was incredibly well attended, and the night went off without a hitch. I also really want to give a shout out to our counseling team. Every year, our counseling team conduct one-on-one sit-downs with every soon-to-be freshman and their parents to select the proper courses for the following year. That process started this Saturday, and despite the weather, the counselors were here and working, pushed back a few hours, obviously, but they kept those appointments, and they are even here tonight doing the exact same thing. At the last meeting in December, you probably remember that the board approved 3 additional sections of EL courses to accommodate the large increase in newcomer students we have seen this year. I want to let the board know that those sections are up and running. They are filled with qualified staff, and those staff have expressed a tremendous amount of gratitude to the board for the additions, as it has relieved some of our most crowded sections for kids who really need it. So thank you for that. I also want to thank our incredible buildings and grounds staff members. They have been so proactive in the last week, and they have put in more hours than the business office cares to count on the overtime slips to make sure that the campus is cleared of snow, properly heated, and safe for students. I can't thank them enough for the great work. Mike Day, Jacob Cole, Adrian Porcayo, Sergio Espinoza, Ken Major, and others I'm sure I'm forgetting. They've been wonderful, and we literally wouldn't have this meeting tonight without them. As a reminder, I want you to know that the discipline and attendance reports are in your packet. And finally, I'd like to introduce this month's student representative. Natalie Fernandez is a senior here at WeGo, and I am very excited to hear about her experiences and perspectives as a Wildcat.
Good evening. My name is Natalie Fernandez, and I am a senior here at West Chicago Community High School. I'd first like to express my gratitude to Dr. Dwyer for giving me this opportunity to speak on behalf of the student body. I would also like to thank District 94 Board of Education for allowing me to speak tonight as well. With the start of the second semester, we had a pep assembly that was roaring with excitement and school spirit. It was a great way to start second semester because juniors and seniors joined together to have a great turnout. With this cold front at hand, we have had 2 days of e-learning, but teachers have shown an immense amount of support and provide us with support with questions we have. As a senior here at WeGo, I'm involved in our club, student ambassador, WeGo Global, National Honor Society, and I've been a part of the varsity girls soccer team for 3 years now. It's been an absolute blessing to be a part of each of these extracurriculars because I've met countless of friends and had the opportunity to be involved and join in on what it means to be a Wildcat. As a 2-year member of NHS, I was given the opportunity to lead the committee for activities for Breakfast with Santa alongside my peer Peyton Arredondo. In preparation for this event, we started in early October by planning and having meetings with the other committee members and committees to check up on our progress and accomplishments. I love this event because it brings the community together on such a beautiful holiday. This event was a great success. We had countless families say it was well organized and was filled with lots of things to do. At the conclusion of this academic year, NHS will be hosting Relay for Life, a full-day walkathon to raise money for cancer patients and their caregivers. Here at WeGo, students are given maximum support academically, and staff here are so dedicated to make the learning environment enjoyable and really get to know their students. I've been a part of the AVID program since my freshman year, and it has provided me with so much support academically. All students here are given the opportunity to go to academic support after school tutoring, and speaking from experience, the support is there 100%. And to extend this topic, here at WeGo, we implement Den last year, and it's timed to the date that allows students to get to work on time. We also have Den lessons that are specific for each grade level. For example, last year we focused on SAT prep, and as a senior this year we focused on college essays, applying to schools, and activities like filling out a resume or adding onto a resume for future jobs. Dr. Dwyer has given me the opportunity to be a part of the DEN committee for seniors, and in this we have covered what works in DEN and what are some important things we can improve to make DEN better. Not only this, but Dr. Dwyer has gotten to know us individually, which means a lot from coming from a student. I would like to reiterate what previous students have talked about when it comes to our success in football, volleyball, and boys soccer. And with winter sports in near conclusions, they have had triumphs like girls in wrestling improving and their program becoming bigger, to boys basketball and girls basketball sharing success in their games and tournaments. As spring slowly approaches, spring sports are starting to prepare for their season. Girls soccer, badminton, and track and field have been having open gyms in preparation for their season. I extend my sincere gratitude to all of you for considering my perspective as a student at West Chicago Community High School. This community is a family, and I am happy to be a part of it and call it my home.
Thank you for that report. Superintendent's report.
Yes, well, welcome out into the frigid cold this evening, and thank you to all of our board members and community members who were able to brave the cold and come out and join us tonight. Congratulations to our board for completing your second round of superintendent interviews last week. with your final candidates. We did share a communication last week with the community indicating that you are in the process of making final decisions about our next superintendent and that we hope to share an update within the next 2 weeks. We also wanted to, Dr. Wenninger and I wanted to comment, as Dr. Dwyer did, on the 8th grade open house last week. That was an impressive representation of the excitement of our incoming freshman class here at WeGo as they transition to high school for next year. Many thanks to our administrators for organizing that event and to all our employees who contributed. It was a lot of fun welcoming the class of 2028 to our school. These future Wildcats and their families learned about curricular offerings, extracurricular activities that are all going to be available to them in high school. It was also nice to receive so many positive comments from parents about their experiences that evening. Also, please know that the first Monday after winter break, which was a week ago Monday, January 8th, our employees participated in professional development opportunities during our Return Institute Day. Dr. Vicki Trotter from the ROE, the DuPage ROE, led 3 differentiated sessions on implicit bias, which is an Illinois State Board of Education required annual training. Divisions also worked on curriculum mapping, articulation, and planning, while select staff worked on target-based assessment writing. Den leaders facilitated grade-level meetings, and building administration reviewed updated procedures for the second semester. Many thanks to our encouraging wellness committee, who provided fun activities including rock climbing, a bags tournament, and pickup volleyball games at the end of the day. Educators who learn and have fun together also grow together. Please remember, board members, that our annual joint Board of Education meeting with the Boards of Education from Districts 25, 33, and 34 is on Monday, February 5th, at 6 o'clock p.m. That's going to be held just down the street at Lehman Middle School. Please note that you will fulfill the new required training for all school board members in Illinois, which is on trauma-informed practices. Thanks to our friends at West Chicago School District 33 for organizing and hosting this important joint board meeting that you guys have participated in for many years. Also, we did receive 2 FOIA requests late last week. They're not included in your packet because they have not been responded to, but Julie and our staff will be responding to those in a timely fashion, and we will share those with you on our weekly update and also at the February board meeting. Finally, just as Dr. Dwyer said, thanks to all of our students and employees who shifted to e-learning this week because of the extreme weather conditions. We appreciate everybody's flexibility as we made decisions to ensure the safety of our students and employees. And that is all. Do we have any questions?
Thank you, John. All right, future dates. As was just mentioned, February 5th, we have the joint board meeting at Lehman. February 6th, we have Committee of the Whole meeting. February 20th, regular Board of Education meeting. March 5th, Committee of the Whole meeting, and March 19th, regular Board of Education meeting. And now open comment from board members, and as part of that, if you'd like to highlight something from the joint conference back in November, feel free. So open to anybody.
He's not here.
Okay, I will start and maybe finish, I don't know. So one of the comments I heard a number of times in presentations was the word belonging. I'm thinking that, maybe somewhere along the line we look at changing our mission, include belonging in there. It seemed to be kind of a common theme. At the delegate assembly, things went pretty much as we would have expected. Everybody followed sort of the recommendations and things. There was one unusual incident where normally the officer slate is presented and pretty much rubber stamped. There was a nomination, a self-nomination from the floor for one of the officer positions, but it didn't go anywhere. At the delegate conference, they always have a couple of student helpers to monitor, count ballots and things like that. This year, they had 2 delegate ambassadors from Future Farmers of America. Very well-spoken, very impressive young men. And after the delegate assembly, I talked with them, and I guess Future Farmers of America isn't just kids raising chickens and bringing livestock to county fairs anymore. They've become very expanded. They actually have programs for high schools, thinking that, we're taking a new interest in vocation. I would encourage administration to possibly look into some FFA programs. There is funding for materials, not for staffing, but I think a couple of the Naperville schools, maybe one of the Glenbard, have picked up on some FFA programs. I've got some information. Turns out one of the regional directors actually is in Winfield. He said he's tried a couple of times, I don't know when, but to come out and promote it, and hasn't gotten any success. But now that we're moving a little more towards vocational interests, this might be something that we would be interested in. So I have information I can pass along to you. They're getting into agricultural sciences, things like that, the kind of thing that I think we could benefit from. I attended a presentation talking about developing your staff. One of the comments there was usually takes about 2 years on new hires to establish trust and develop relationships. 3 to 8 years projection to actually establish some succession trust there. They said, make sure you invest in your rising stars. This particular district, I hate to say this publicly, but they actually pay their staff to go for doctoral they do alumni tickets, they do T-shirts, they have special focus on the teachers that went to school there. They have like alumni staff club, so kind of interesting. They also had worked out a very strong transition plan, and one of the things that they said be concerned about is having an emergency superintendent on your staff so that if something happens, you have a succession. You don't have to go through interims and things like that. So that was kind of interesting. Then I took another presentation on LIFO. They do a LIFO program, and it's kind of like what your personalities are and the personalities of the other board members, so that you know what you're working with and how to work together. So something maybe down the line we want to look at. One of the marketing people from DLA has been involved in this program. So I think that pretty much covers it.
Thank you, Rich. Anybody else open comment or things regarding the conference?
I mean, so many things stuck out this year, and all the breakout sessions were amazing. But one of the things that I really resonated with me was something they said at one of my breakout sessions, which was equity is an everyday job, not about just one person. Developing partnerships and listening, based on listening, learning, and trusting. We're in the profession of relationships, which I think is something else that really stuck out. And then this is a quote that I thought was really powerful for me: lean into challenge and welcome it together as a team.
Thank you, Penny. Anybody else?
I had attended one of the Share the Success programs this one was put on by Addison High School, District 25. And it was their process for strategic planning. But it was, they called it an opportunity roadmap for all staff, or for all. And they kind of talked about more too. They talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion in their policy for that. And they talked about a statement they made, a statement of commitment to eliminate racial injustice. They put that out after the George Floyd murder. So it it really kind of encompassed a lot of things about the beliefs and the mission for their school. So that was really informative. I tried to go to a lot of things that were superintendent related on providing support for your superintendent. Apparently IASB has a evaluation tool out that looked interesting that I've been kind of talking to other people about and getting different responses, but it might be something we want to look at in the future. A community engagement discussion was really informative. And it's basically just getting yourself out there, which is something, you know, that we can always do more of. And all in all, it was an excellent conference.
Thank you, Lynn.
I was going to say, I agree. It was a great conference. The sessions I went to were very informative. There was one that I went to that I thought was pretty cool. It gave a perspective of admin, like a principal, superintendent, and teacher all in one kind of panel. They kind of all talked about different things in like regards to like the students. I thought one thing that was super interesting was when they talk about assessments. They mentioned an example of like a student getting docked for not bringing a specific uniform, and they talked about, you know, coming up with better solutions rather than blaming a student for like parents' fault. Like it was like a middle school going into like I guess like right before high school. So I guess that was just a different perspective, and I liked how kind of they talked about like the student as a whole versus just kind of like the faults. You know, you're not bringing this assignment. So that was pretty cool.
Thank you, Giovanni. The sessions I went to were wonderful as always. I went to a couple sessions related to trying to be a better board president, one about superintendent contracts and another one about strategic planning, but definitely a lot to think about. Any other open comment from board members?
Mr. Brown, if I could just comment on one session that really caught my eye. In fact, I'm in the middle of reading a book as a follow-up to that session. It was on student voice. In fact, I think you might have mentioned you had gone to that at a previous year's conference. Really building on the concept of what we already have in place, and our student representatives are fantastic. They do a wonderful job of reporting to the board. But the concepts, and this was from, I think it was Leiden School District 212, I think the number is. Dr. Poliak from Leiden spoke about their journey, and their program has grown. But it's really amazing how much of a contribution having a student, or in their case, it's actually two students, sitting at the board table contributing to the meeting. So I will report back to you when I'm done with the book. I also have a copy of the book for Dr. Dwyer. I haven't given it to him yet because I haven't sat down and talked with him about it. But I think it's something that I would encourage you as a board to delve into a little bit further, just to possibly reap the benefits of that. Because feedback from our students is critical. You know, they often they say out of the mouths of babes, not necessarily referring to high school kids, but students will be honest with you. And I think their voice is so critical to the work that we do at the board table. So,
What was the name of the book again?
Student Voice.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I'm done, I'd be happy to share that with any board member who wants to read it as well. Yep.
Thank you for that, John. All right, then, that brings us to future issues. Does anybody want to bring up a future issue for future board meeting agendas?
I'll renew my request from previous board meetings to either have votes on releasing the Title IX reports, or they should be distributed to board members without a vote. Take your pick.
Okay, any other future issues?
I would fully support Gary's request, and I'm a little upset that it wasn't acted upon when he requested it last month.
I can't remember a time where information that was presented to the superintendent was withheld from the board. I think, you know, I understand your concern about publicly disclosing, but if you can't trust the board to take some information and withhold it, then, you know, then we have a problem.
Especially when it was presented to us verbally, but we were never given any documentation to support it, and there's nothing reflected in the discussion that should have been held back.
All right, are there any other future issues that anyone wants to bring up? All right, that brings us to consent agenda. At this point, are there any items that anyone wants removed from the consent agenda for separate action?
That policy, that is part of the consent agenda, I guess. Policy 4150.
All right, any,
Some comments on.
is there anything else that anybody wants removed from the consent agenda?
So just to clarify, so that would be part of number 4, additional policy recommendations. So that whole packet would be pulled off and discussed separately.
You don't want to just pull the one policy and do it separately?
It's part of it's all one recommendation.
Okay.
If that's the way it's presented in the packet, so we really need to keep that together.
Except there might be a different vote on that one, so I don't know if...
And that's okay. Yeah.
All right, we'll pull out that entire section 4 then. All right then. At this point, we move to consent agenda. Recommend motion that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda, which includes the approval of minutes for December 19th, 2023, open and closed meeting minutes. January 8th, 2024, open and closed special Board of Education meeting minutes. January 9th, 2024, open and closed special Board of Education meeting minutes. The approval of financials as presented. And item number 3, a bunch of policies from Press Plus issue 113. And we will hold off on item number 4, which has some additional policies. And the personnel report.
Move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Casey Mayer,
Aye.
Ms. Doremus,
Aye.
Ms. Munoz, Mr. Nagel,
Aye.
Mr. Sake,
Aye.
Mr. Suniga,
Aye.
Mr. Brown.
Aye. All right, motion carries. All right, the recommended motion is to approve the policy recommendations, language updates and reference from policy 2:150 committees, policy 2:240 board policy development, and policy 4:150 facility management and building programs, and review and monitoring on exhibit 2:80E board member code of conduct.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I apologize for not thinking ahead to pull that one particular policy off. Let me go back in history. About 25 some years ago, the board was approached on behalf of 2 very respected and loved staff members to name some facility sections after them in their honor. After much discussion over a number of meetings, the board considered the fact that many past, present, and future staff and community members were deserving of recognition, and eventually we would run out of spaces to name. That, in addition to always changing facilities, programs and things, it was decided that a better way to honor people was to open a hall of honor that would be somewhat unlimited. The board approved a policy that in effect said it would not name facilities, but rather honor its members by inducting them into this hall of honor through a selection process. After that, other requests to name facilities were made, and we referred to the policy without any issues. Over the past few years, a couple of things have happened. During a remodel, the Hall of Honor was removed and pictures lost. When we went through our policy manual conversion from District 94 policies to Press, then Press Plus, we were promised that any special District 94 policies would be retained and put into the appropriate press category. Through an error of omission, that did not happen. The policy about naming facilities was never formally dropped, it just disappeared. I'm told that whatever was not in the press policy when it was approved initially is gone. In my opinion, nothing has changed from when that original recognition policy was adopted, so I do not feel a different policy is in the best interest of the district right now. There could be other less limiting ways to provide special recognition for staff members and community members that deserve it.
May I speak on this?
Absolutely.
It's been well over a year since we met as a board, and it was brought to us that a group of people wanted to name the pool area after a staff member that passed away. And we decided at that time to form an ad hoc committee. It took quite some time to get everything going, and it really wasn't until the fall of this year. I mean, we had started working on it in the spring, gotten some things going over the summer. We really needed everybody back in school to get things going. We had a very well-rounded group. We had students, we had staff, we had board members, we had community members, we had one of our interim superintendents. Penny, did we have any teachers? We had teachers. So we had kind of like two of every one of those people on the committee. We met several times, and we put a survey out to the community, the staff, and it was on the website. Anybody that was interested in responding to that, and we asked two questions. One was about naming, one was about renaming, because we felt those were really kind of two different things, two different aspects of this. And we were basing this off not of this situation, but the fact that we had no policy at all, because we knew that had disappeared somehow. So we wanted to see what the current temperature was. What did people want now? What was their thoughts? What does the community want? We had 122 responses. 97.5% were a yes for being able to name portions of the building. Out of those, for renaming, we had 66.4% said yes to that. We got a lot of input from them as well. A lot of thoughtful responses went along. It wasn't just a yes or no. Probably every single person put in comments. And those of us in the committee read through them. It was a very thoughtful process, a very fair process, a very equitable process. And this is the policy we came up with. I know it's a difficult concept in that what you say is very true. There are really lots and lots and lots of people who have been part of the community here in West Chicago Community High School, that are deserving of these type of recognitions. So we needed to have some type of a process to go through, and this is what we came up with. It's really sad that hall got lost and those items got lost, but I kind of felt that we needed to start anew and do, kind of what the public wanted. Really, it wasn't that people on the board or the committee had an agenda in mind. They truly wanted to do what was representative of the community. Penny, do you have anything to add to that?
I guess the only thing I would like to add that you've already said, but I just want to reiterate, is we followed a process. We really did have all stakeholder groups represented, and we invested a lot of time. And as you said, thoughtful would be the right word. We were mindful and thoughtful of the process, and it wasn't about any one specific thing, but it was also for us to compose a policy and have something to move forward with.
And this is actually the second reading for this too. So this was out there in December. Presented to us, and I would have been happy to explain anything to anybody that would like to talk about it.
Any other comments or discussion?
I concur with Rich. I think the previous policy had good reason for it. I think the changing of names things that come out later can be very problematic. I just don't think it's a good idea. I think there was good reason for it being what it was.
I do think it's important for the board members and even community that are listening to this meeting recognize that the way policy renovation works, so what the board engaged in approximately 5 years ago was a policy renovation. So you took your previous grouping of policies and you replaced them with renovated, new, updated policies that were aligned with school code and curricular requirements and everything that's required of school districts in the state of Illinois. So I don't, and not to be argumentative, but I don't like the reference to an act of omission, that policy was left out. I certainly wasn't here at that time, so I can't say it was intentional or just accidentally omitted. But what I do know was that on the date that the board approved that press publications policy recommendations, which the board participated in the development of, at that point in time, you approved those policies moving forward. So therefore, everything prior to that date that existed was no longer in place. The fact that a hall with really important information about important individuals who contributed to our community was taken down and the materials were lost, that's tragic. That saddens me. I certainly don't appreciate that happened, regardless of policy. And this policy that was recommended by the ad hoc committee who worked on it does not eliminate the possibility that the board could still have that type of celebration of an area that celebrates similar to what we have in the hallway, celebrating alumni, important alumni who've contributed to our community. So I certainly would encourage you to still entertain that possibility, because I think it's a great idea, and it's a shame that for whatever reason that was taken down and not continue or lost. But I think it's really important to remember that when you adopted all of those policies, and since then you've updated them, this board and any boards in the future will continue to build and make sure that those policies are aligned with what you as a board believe in.
Thank you. I was thinking the same thing, too, that one does not negate the other, and certainly redoing that, reconstructing that, was an excellent idea.
Any other comments or discussion? All right, and just a reminder, the question before us is not just on the single policy, it's on the 3 policies and the exhibit. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ramus? Kathy?
Kathy?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
I'm okay with all the policies other than that one about renaming and naming, so no.
Mr. Sake?
No.
Mr. Suniga?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. That brings us to new business, closed session minutes and destruction of closed meeting audio recordings. Yes.
So I would like to just talk with the board and have a discussion about this important act that the board should go through. And I'm going to read a couple of things. In fact, some of this was included in a recent weekly update to you. So you may be familiar with Board Policy 2:220, which is board meeting procedure. That suggests that there's a semi-annual review process of meeting minutes which should take place approximately every 6 months. It specifies that in an open session meeting, the Board of Education should review minutes from all closed session meetings that are currently unavailable for public release and determine which, if any, no longer require confidential treatment and are available for public inspection. That same policy also specifies that after 18 months have passed since being made, audio recordings of a closed session meeting should be destroyed provided the board approved its destruction and that the minutes of that particular closed session meetings were also approved. We did have the last review of closed session meeting minutes last June, prior to Attila and I starting, and I believe that Gary and Rich had reviewed those for the board. So Attila and I felt that it was important to formally kind of go through that procedure with you because it's part of board policy, but also remind you, and I want to thank Evie because she's actually the one that brought it to our attention back in December because this was not on our radar. But this is something that we need to attend to. So considering that more than 6 months have lapsed, we wanted to have a discussion with you about how do you want to handle that? Do we want to just go and have Rich and Gary do this again? Or more board, what's your preference with that? Let's have just a short discussion about it.
It certainly could be done as two board members. If we wanted to, we could do it in closed session as the entire board or, whatever people felt was comfortable.
I'm okay continuing on as we had been doing. We sort of have the process down. I can't speak for Gary.
Likewise, the administrator has been making the recommendations, and we review them for the most part. And it's gone.
That's good to know, too, because I was not aware of that, so that's easy to do.
Any other thoughts or
Can we
comments?
talk a little bit about what the process is?
So really, the way you want to look at this in simple terms is when the board goes into closed session, there are topics that are, and I think there's 16 of them, that are allowable for the board to talk about. So after the board has had those closed session meetings, we take minutes on them. Those minutes are not made public. And the reason that they're not made public initially is because there may be something confidential. So I'll give you an extreme example that everybody could relate with. If we had an employee who it was a personnel issue, that is not public business. That is certainly business before the board that may lead up to a decision that the board would make. So after that meeting, within the 6 months, you would need to sit down and decide, do we release those minutes, meaning making them public? And it all depends on what is in those minutes, what's stated. Is a person's name? Is there something that's confidential, maybe about a medical situation? That's one example of where those minutes would remain what they call classified rather than declassified. That's the process. And it's not a time-consuming process. It's fairly easy to do as long as you understand the logic behind it.
Some minutes that might be open would be things where we had a discussion about something that we didn't necessarily want the public to know we were discussing at that time, but there's no detail that needs to be held close. So we would maybe release them in 6 months or maybe release them in a year or something like that. Part of it is timing.
And is there an advantage to having us all hear it in closed session as opposed to just two people?
In my opinion, it's not necessary to have the full board, especially, and thank you, Mr. Sake, for revealing that the superintendent, I'm assuming, in the past would review them, make recommendations to, in this case, a couple of board members who were representing the board, because ultimately then they make a recommendation to the full board. You're still seeing that. So they're still coming back to you and saying, and there would be a memo, they would simply say, we recommend that these are declassified or remain classified for these reasons.
We also,
I'm sorry, Rich.
we also review the log of all of the things that had been looked at and classified or declassified, which doesn't take long. So
Yeah, from the beginning of time.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
that
there's an ongoing log, correct.
And that gets presented to the board? Okay.
It is a board decision as to what gets open and what remains closed. It's just basically past practice is a ad hoc committee of two board members makes that recommendation to the full board.
And it depends on how many closed session meetings we had and how much detail some of those were gone into. Some of them are, that's easy. some of them take a little bit of discussion and consideration and interchange with the superintendent and with the board members.
Sometimes the minutes will talk about such and such was discussed, and that's it, without revealing details. Other times, there's more pertinent details in there that may be necessary to keep closed.
Okay.
And given the fact that we have a new superintendent coming in, would that be something that we would also kind of engage with them and discuss what the process or procedure is that they feel is best for us to?
I promise you that that would be part of our transition with that individual. So as outgoing superintendent, so for instance, when I left, that was one of the things that I talked with the incoming superintendent about, what the previous process was, which was similar to this. And so they can continue that practice. But then ultimately, the superintendent should talk with the board president about those types of functions. And as Evie has already demonstrated, she's the taskmaster of it. So she'll know if you do it, let's say in February, that the next time that we would want to do it is July.
I'm just wondering if there is a value to us all as a board getting all the information.
I would say no.
I don't
Have
know
a
that,
specific reason for that,
Yeah.
aside from it's just been something that we've been accustomed to doing?
Well, it takes some time, and I think we have more important things to spend our time with at board meetings.
We do have, obviously, we all have access to the minutes from those closed sessions. So if there's a recommendation from the committee that a certain meeting should remain closed, you can go back and look at what's in those minutes, and if you disagree with that, that's certainly something that can be brought up, because the board has to approve that.
I agree. And since all the board members are present in closed session, nothing is certainly being kept from a board member. But I'll give you an example. There was one time in my past where a board member said, well, why are we keeping that one classified? And this was in advance of the meeting. They had called me. And I said, you remember at that meeting, this is what we're, and they said, oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, and they were comfortable with it. So it's not a secretive process by any means, but I think Rich said it perfectly, I think the full board has better things to do with the limited time that you have than to go through all of those closed session minutes. Similarly, whether it's one board member or two board members, they have better time too. That's why it does make sense to have the superintendent develop the recommendation, give that to those assigned board members and for review to make sure it makes sense from a board member's perspective, and then present it to the full board.
What I would suggest with the new superintendent is we go through some of the previous closed session minutes that we opened and closed and explain to him what our reasoning was behind that, so he gets a feel for why this was held and why this was open before he's involved in that as well.
Good suggestion. And Penny, just keep in mind, through Board Book, you can always go back to any past meeting. So if there's ever a question about, okay, what was the closed session minutes about that, you can always look back and see what it was that's being discussed.
Thank you all for your willingness to explain the process to me.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
So since Gary and Rich have graciously agreed to continue the process, are we all comfortable with that?
Yep.
All right then, thank you
And
both.
if I could just get clarification on timeline, would you like us to present that to you, let's say within the next 2 weeks, so that you could have that before the February board meeting to review, Gary and Rich?
I think usually we've gotten together a little bit early before a committee of the whole meeting and gone through those, and then you have that ready to present at the next board meeting. And I think we can either get together and go through it, or you can send us the list and we can go through it in advance and then get together and agree on things. I mean, we used to spend an hour. Now we've got it down to maybe 20 minutes because, we're getting
Let me
pretty
see
good
how
at it.
quickly.
There aren't that many each time. We pretty much, ones in the past, we honor what was previously decided, that we realize why they were decided that way. So, at least once.
Usually after the second or third review, if they're being held, they're going to be held forever. And then there may be one that, within 6 months, it isn't ready to be released, but after a year or year and a half, it's released, and then it's, out of our hair. We used to have to go through everything all the way back to, the first day, and, now we keep a log on that, so we can just skip ahead.
So if I can pull everything together in the next week and a half and get that to you before the February cow meeting, would that work?
Work. Yeah, that's usually the way we've been doing it.
Yep. Okay. That's fine. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the discussion.
All right, and thank you for your willingness to serve. All right, that brings us to Greco de Rosa Cheese Merchant, Intergovernmental Agreement revised for occupancy. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the intergovernmental agreement providing a property tax abatement for the property at 2595 Enterprise Circle as presented.
So move.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Kind of interesting to have Cheese Merchant show up on a board agenda. Roll call, please.
Ms. Munoz? Aye. Mr. Nagel? Mr. Sake?
Aye.
Mr. Suniga?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer?
Aye.
Mr. Ramus?
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. West Chicago Sharks donation approval. Recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the donation from the West Chicago Sharks program in the amount of $88,000, which is to be used towards the purchase of a new scoreboard for the pool.
So move.
Second.
Can I say something?
I was just going to call any discussion, so absolutely.
As a fellow West Chicago Shark and lifelong community member, I can confidently say that this partnership is invaluable for our community and school district. And I can also say that it is a long overdue, and I'm super excited to see this happen.
It certainly is a very generous donation. Any other discussion or comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Sake?
Aye.
Mr. Suniga?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer?
Aye.
Mr. Ramus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
All right, now that we have received the donation, it's time to spend the donation. Pool scoreboard purchase approval. The recommended motion that the Board of Education approve the purchase of a scoreboard for the pool from Viva LED Display Company, Laguna Hills, California, in the amount of $93,158.25 as per the quote presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
This will be a straight scoreboard, no advertising snuck in there or anything? Do we know what it's going to look like?
No, there's no advertising snuck in there. It is a video board that we could do that if we wanted to in the future, but at this point in time, no.
Okay, because in the past, they've offered scoreboards with advertising on there, and because we're, not necessarily interested in bringing advertising into the school as much as possible, I just wanted to check on that.
Any other discussion or questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sake?
Aye.
Mr. Suniga?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer?
Aye.
Mr. Ramus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, we will be moving into executive session, and there will be no action taken after executive session. The recommended motion that the Board of Education hold a closed session for the purposes of the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, specifically superintendent candidates.
So move.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Ms. Casey Mayer?
Aye.
Mr. Ramus?
Aye.
Ms. Munoz?
Aye.
Mr. Nagel?
Aye.
Mr. Sake?
Aye.
Mr. Suniga?
Aye.
All right, we are going to be going into closed session, and why don't we take 5?
Would have leaned way over. Would have been nice.
All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you, everyone. Very productive meeting.
Yes, thank you.
Stay warm. Look on the bright side. Next week, it's going to be warmer and rainy. We may hit 40 next week.